Don't pace too fast, get back to my wheel, panic for Jumbo-Visma, and Pogačar laughing at Wout van Aert. This was the Tour de France Stage 2. Adam Yates in the yellow jersey after winning Stage 1 with a fantastic breakaway, and the second Basque stage continues with a finish in San Sebastian. This turned into a cracking stage. The Jaizkibel is the final. It has bonus seconds on top, 8, 5, and 2 for the first 3. And this is harder than it looks, 209 Ks. Hilly and uphill all day. Yates brothers in the green and yellow jersey, but Yates' dog with the yellow jersey, that Samoyed stole the show. Who would try jumping the break though? And it was Pedersen and Trek. They already decided it was too hard for them. And here you see UAE saying, Ineos, no, you're not allowed on the breakaway. I think it was Kwiatkowski. So UAE already setting the stall out saying they're intending to chase. They didn't want to break too big. Trentin marked that move with Pedersen. So the move that did go was Paulus, Cavagna, Bosenhagen. Is allowed by UAE because it's only 3 guys, but it's 3 strong riders. Well, there was some bluffing here about who would pace, and then they came in the front. There was some disquiet about who or how they would chase this breakaway. Soler saying to Bjerg, come on, just chill out a little bit, let the gap grow. But Bjerg probably saying, you actually don't want to let the gap just go to 6 minutes and then have to chase too hard to pull it back, and you should start riding immediately because no one's going to counter. Pogačar and Yates sort of laughing. Stekelangen, he pegs it at about 4:30. Then Trentin's back at the car talking to Machin, presumably about what to do. And so the gap went about up to 5 minutes was the closest, and UAE decided to use the climbs to close the gap to make the race hard for everybody. Then on the descents and flat, it ballooned back to 4:30. And lost a minute back. And why are they chasing? And that's because of those bonus seconds for Pogačar on top of Jaizkibel to beat Vingegaard in the sprint. And I think they just thought they could win the stage with Pogačar if they made it difficult enough, because it's a difficult stage, and if he gets people to cooperate with him, who knows? And the breakaway with Paulus in it in the KOM jersey, it's a tough one to bring back. But it started raining a little bit through these towns. Thankfully, no major, huge pile-ups. Cavagna was dropped. Bosenhagen actually very strong today, and Paulus needed him to get as deep as he did in the stage. And then suddenly Trentin's crash. We never saw how. Bjerg saying, guys, we got to keep going because we can't just stop for wait for Trentin, who is a minute back, because Paulus isn't going to stop and wait, and he's got Bosenhagen tugging him along. And then Vingegaard, he has a mechanical here. You see him sliding back in the overhead shot. I think it must have been a slow flat because he goes to the back of the bunch and keeps pedaling for a while. Then there's a crash on the left-hand side. Maxim van Hils goes down hard and maybe Felix Gold's caught up. Vingegaard then stops on the right-hand side, and he was waiting for the car to come up. But now the medical car is in the way, obviously, to attend to Maxim van Hils, and the Jumbo car is trying to burst through, I presume, to change the wheel or to fix the mechanical of Vingegaard. So these stages can go from seemingly a status quo and tranquil to very stressed. UAE kind of let the foot off the gas because the gap goes to 2 minutes. They didn't have to because they were already pacing. Now without Trentin, without Langen, they're doing the lead out into the Jaizkibel. Paulus is on his own. He's still got a pretty healthy gap, but this climb is difficult. It's in 2 sections. First 3Ks at 5%, a flat K, and then another 3Ks at 7.1% or 7.5% with bonies at the top, and then 20Ks to the finish. Paulus, despite being strong all stage, he lost a lot of time early on in the climb. With just Pogačar in good position with Soler leading him out, Van der Poel drops straight away. And Van Hooijdonk brings Vingegaard into good position with Van Aert just behind, but Yates doesn't enter in good position, neither does Grosschartner. So if the plan was for Grosschartner, and I think it might have been, to do the base of the climb really hard, that was scuppered by positioning at the start, because when someone's pulling at 25, 30 kph, and as Craddock and Harper were, it's very difficult to move up. And when you do like Grosschartner does here, it costs a lot of energy in the wind. And when we get to those final 3.5 Ks, the plan is clear for UAE Team Emirates. Micah, he always does the first minute of his pulls very, very hard, already puts Wout van Aert on a bit of a gap with Ciccone on Vingegaard's wheel. Vingegaard sort of trying to fight all this climb for Pogačar's wheel off Adam Yates, trying to claim it because he's worried about Pogačar attacking. And yeah, Van Aert slides back, but he doesn't get dropped. He slides back. Benoit and Kelderman move up positions, and then Micah does slow down a little bit with about 1,800 meters to go, and riders don't continue to get dropped. So no major GC guys apart from O'Connor lost time today, I don't believe, but Yates does the lead out for Pogačar, which was curious to me because Pogačar's just as likely to beat Jonas from a group of 20, but if he thins it out too much, then Vingegaard's guaranteed to come second on the climb. So I think they kind of played into Vingegaard's hands a little bit here by making it as selective as they wanted, because someone like Schelmoser and Ciccone can't nab the seconds from Vingegaard, whereas Pogačar, who gets an elbow from Vingegaard, Pogačar's always going to win this sprint, and he does, but the delta is only 3 seconds, and maybe it could have been 8, and now Yates is off the back, and this is curious to me. This is one of the most fascinating parts of this stage, which was so entertaining. Pogačar keeps going. Flicks Vingegaard, who says no, who then goes to the radio to say, actually, Yates is off the back. Pogačar's willing to ride with Yates off the back, but he doesn't relay because he's got Wout van Aert behind in that larger group coming back with Kelderman, Benoit, and a whole host of other riders like Pidcock, and it's Bilbao actually attacking as he sees Pogačar and Vingegaard about to get caught. And he's going to push the issue on this descent, Pale Bilbao, the best descender in the world. He's the best descender in the world. I've never seen him just about make any mistakes. He's incredibly aerodynamic. He's gapping Wout van Aert, who's a good descender in his own right, and pedaling hard on this descent. Yes, the moto's in front, but Bilbao, he is the best descender in the world. And now Van Aert's on a big gap, and he's looking, and he sprints over this ridgeline. Nearly gaps Adam Yates, but the problem is, he can't sprint to Bilbao's wheel. He stops, and he's basically redlined Benoit and Kelderman, who are in this group, and showed everybody how strong he was. And they're going to have to come back and close this gap for him anyway, and he's kind of made it a little bit more difficult for them. Also in this group, didn't see him on the climb, is Victor Lafay just hiding, one of the third strongest, or maybe the strongest on the climb yesterday, just couldn't get the result. Benoit brings Bilbao back with 5.6 Ks to go, but Vingegaard pulls out of the pace line. And that's because there's a 700 meter 4% ramp coming up. Guys are flying attacks. Bookman's going to throw in an attack. Pidcock will. Schelmoser will. Who's to say Pogačar won't? So Vingegaard starts worrying about, okay, I can't have Pogačar behind me. He goes to look for Pogačar's rear wheel to make sure he doesn't get attacked. Bookman rolls off the front, and now Kelderman and Jumbo just have to respond to these attacks and try and set a pace. But you're already cooked. You've already been dropped. Wout has to respond for Pidcock throwing in a huge dig on the little rise. And when Lafay throws in the big haymaker with 1K to go, Kelderman hesitates and can't respond, with Victor Lafay breaking the Cofidis multi-decade drought in the Tour de France, one of the best French riders, and I think he's still got a lot of room to develop, as he showed at this Tour de France, wins the stage. Huge for him. Vingegaard upset for Wout van Aert, but no one more upset than the Belgian, who's frustrated coming second, throws his bid on, and Pogačar regales Adam Yates with the story, laughing at Wout van Aert for his reaction after the stage. So drama. Should Jonas have pulled with Pogačar? Should Jonas have chased after Victor Lafay? Victor Lafay is the star of this Grand Depart, the breakout rider ahead of Van Aert, Pogačar, Pidcock, Bilbao, Schelmoser,